What's up, everyone? Welcome into another episode of the First Class Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Bonsanti, sitting across from me for a third day in a row. Tony Vegas. We told you guys we'd be back on. We didn't know we'd be 3 days in a row, but I woke up in 2026 and it felt like 2013 by the afternoon. Jets went out, traded for Geno Smith, quarterback on the Raiders. Just right now, Max Crosby trade called off, which is like pandemonium, breaking out on Twitter. But Tony, 3 days in a row, how you doing?
We're doing good. I'm sick of you at this point. I want nothing to do with you anymore. I'm kidding. We finally got a quarterback. We thought it would happen Wednesday. Kind of had an idea it would be Geno Smith. Everything was kind of pointing that direction. But I don't know, man. Good vibes. Is it a great move? I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a great move. Did I want it to happen? Fuck yeah, I did. It's Geno Smith, man. He's back. And let's talk about it.
Absolutely. So it was a pick swap. They did it a day early. They had the Raiders eat essentially all the money. Jets are only going to pay him $3 million, which I think the first thought out of everyone's mind was, did the Jets just pay him all that money? Which I don't think I ever had that thought process, but I did see it thrown out on Twitter. Minutes later, it was said that the Jets did come out and agree to the deal, like a restructured contract, essentially, where they're paying him the vet minimum. Geno obviously was drafted here in 2013 as a second-round draft pick. We know it didn't end all too well. Whole Fitzpatrick thing, IK punching him in the face over $600, yada, yada, yada. And now he's back. I mean, the Jets really didn't have many other options at this point. Jacoby Brissett, a lot of rumors around him. He was staying in Arizona. Not many other ways the Jets could go at this point, and now they immediately pivot to the Giants' plan of last year, looking for that second veteran, and then we'll see if they follow suit by drafting a rookie this year. But Geno Smith, outside of last year where he played on a horrible Raiders team, I'm not defending him in any sense, not saying he's going to have some sort of resurgence at the age of 35, but if you just peek at his stats the past few years, like he's had 2 4,000-yard passing seasons in the past 3 years. It's pretty not bad for a 32, 33-year-old at that time. He did have a bad year last year, 19 touchdowns, 17 picks, was beat up a bunch, really bad Raiders team. But I think what they're going to bring him in to do here is put him behind a good offensive line. You have a good running back, Garrett Wilson. Hopefully they can pick up another receiver, potentially Brian Thomas Jr. We're still hoping on that front, maybe another one in the draft. I personally like the move for what it is. For the regime trying to get a quarterback in there to evaluate the offense, I think this is probably the best of the remaining options. But what are your thoughts outside of the nostalgic aspect of it, which I'm very excited for? What are your thoughts on the move overall?
I think this fits in with like the bucket of everything they've been doing in this offseason, and it's allowing you to evaluate a bunch of things. It allows you to evaluate the coaching staff, allows you to build a unit that will allow for some development, right? You have 4 picks in the top 44 this year. One of them is probably going to be a receiver. You still have Garrett Wilson, who's going to want the ball, and he's going to want it a lot. So you had to get him a guy that, could at least get him the rock downfield. If you give Geno Smith time, he's going to sling it downfield. We did not see that last year. And it honestly made like the Jets borderline unwatchable at times. I mean, there were times during the game where I was just looking at my phone and scrolling and, I'd look up and that's how I was watching these Jets games. It was absolutely horrible. So you get Geno Smith in. It's a veteran, play caller who has been around the league. He sat behind some really good quarterbacks. Again, his best years are probably in Seattle. I think those are behind him. Obviously he linked back up with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas and it didn't work out, but this is the type of environment I feel that Geno Smith can thrive in. An offensive line, if they get a guard, that's something I want to talk about. If they're going to have an offensive line that's going to be able to give him some time, like you said, some weapons. It's a night and day situation from last year. And it's just kind of like one of those things where I'm seeing a bunch of, media pundits and all that stuff being like, I don't really get their plan. What are they doing? Why would they do this? You can't go into next year with Brady Cook or, whoever, name your quarterback, Justin Fields. It would never happen, but you can't just go into the year with that again, right? We want them, maybe it would be beneficial for us to get the first pick. And we're obviously, a proponent of that on this podcast, but I don't know, man. We're fans. Deep down, we don't want them to be like atrocious. And, this at least gives you a nice floor of, okay, this guy's going to start all 17 games barring any injury. I don't think we're going to like boo him off the field by any means, given what we've seen the years past. And, like I said, it has that nice little nostalgic kick of, I don't know. Geno gives me good vibes. I watched his interview today with Justina Anderson. It was great. You guys should check it out.
Yeah, it definitely has like it's just even if I don't know how Jets fans are mad at it, right? Like even at its worst, you're still getting Geno back, and it's definitely a soft spot for a lot of Jets fans. I think it kind of blasts to the past when we were still somewhat relevant, back in the 2015 to 2010 era.
We were in 8th grade when we drafted him. We were in 8th grade when we drafted Geno Smith, by the way.
Yeah, it's a damn long time ago, man. We were getting into high school, coming off of a couple AFC championship games, feeling like we were going to have something good going into college. Geno Smith obviously did not pan out for us. And I like what you said there. Definitely his best days are in Seattle. But, I mean, realistically, last year, if he went to a situation after Seattle where the team was better structured around him, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I would have liked to seen what his stats were. Like, I think last year, a big proponent of the statistics was the situation in Las Vegas. Not saying that he hasn't declined at all or regressed. I think that's definitely a part of it. But in the same light, I think there's still some juice left, especially where he could get Garrett, 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. I really do think that that's still there for him. So overall, it's a good. I would have liked, and I mentioned it maybe a few episodes ago, maybe before free agency started. Like Gardner Minshew would have been that perfect guy to back him up, in my opinion. Now you're kind of looking at the Carson Wentz's, where if Geno goes down, like he is, to me, I there's not many people, like he might be my worst number 2 option at this point. I really do not want to see Carson Wentz on the Jets. I don't.
Yeah. And it just goes to, let's run through the options here, right? Outside of Geno Smith, of what was left on the market, it was Kyler Murray, who's not coming here. I think that was pretty obvious. He's going to the Vikings. That was like a done deal like days ago. He's going to the Vikings and competing with J.J. McCarthy, probably just taking the job from him and rehabilitating his career in Minnesota. So off the table. Kirk Cousins, that was ruled out like immediately for whatever reason.
He didn't want to play here.
He did not want to come here. He's 38, coming off a torn Achilles. He's on camera driving up the price, using us to drive up the price for Minnesota. He had no interest in ever playing for the Jets. And I don't know why he would have any interest, 8 years later playing for the Jets. So that was never happening. Jacoby Brissett staying. Tanner McKee didn't seem like it was feasible. Mac Jones didn't seem like it was feasible. I mean, I don't know. Would you guys rather have Geno Smith on a minimum or trade a number 2 for Mac Jones? I personally would rather have Geno Smith on the minimum. Malik Willis was never happening. That, Dolphins took that swing, which honestly didn't seem like that bad of a swing to me. But this was it, man. Like, this was it. It was either this or you're looking at like scary hours of, Carson Wentz like starting or something, and, I think the bad attitude that he might have had when he was last here, he was a kid back then, man. You got to think about it like that. Like he was 21, 22, 23. This is now a 35-year-old man that's been in the league for, 14 years, who's, he sat on the bench, he started, he's gotten punched in the mouth, literally, and gotten back up. And, we needed a guy like that at the helm of this team with Eric Glenn. And I'm glad it was him. In regards to the number 2 quarterback, I know they want to bring in another vet. Please go and get Andy Dalton. I think that's the most.
I would say, I was looking here. I think it's Dalton, which you'd have to trade for, I believe, unless they release him.
They signed Pickett. I don't know why they would keep him.
Maybe to try to trade him. I don't know. Russell Wilson.
No.
There's Flacco still out there and Garoppolo, which I would be okay. I mean, I know you're saying
G wouldn't be bad.
I wouldn't mind any of those 3, to be honest with you. I think it's better than Carson Wentz.
I think Flacco's. I
He's
think
not going to come back here,
I'm
though.
cool with Flacco.
I love him. He'd
We
be
have
cool.
enough. We've got enough. I'm good now. We got
Yeah.
Demario Davis. We got Geno Smith. I don't need ex-Jet Joe Flacco coming back for his fourth stint. Maybe I think he's
Oh
been
my
here.
God.
It's insane.
Hey,
So
Josh Johnson's floating around there too.
Josh
He can
Johnson. I
play
mean,
with
at this point, a lot of journeyman quarterback have played here, just because there's only so many, and we've never had a quarterback. So, anybody but Wentz, go and get Andy Dalton.
Jake Browning.
If you get that, wouldn't be bad either. I don't care. Like if you get, I think I'd prefer Andy Dalton, because let's just say there's a world where you take Ty Simpson, you have a room with Andy Dalton. He's comes into a room with Geno Smith starting the games, Andy Dalton holding the clipboard next to him, and Ty Simpson. That's pretty legit in terms of quarterback development. And Frank Reich, former quarterback, like if they decide to go that route instead of punting to 2027, I can get behind it. It's a good room for development. And I just think this was a no-brainer move given the cards they were dealt. And for a coaching staff that has their back against the wall right now, finding a quarterback for the veteran minimum, in which they threw for 4,000 yards in back-to-back years, they're 1 year removed from it. So I don't know, man. I'm cool with the move, and I've been a Geno Smith fan the past couple of years.
For sure, it is the true full circle moment, and we now have a somewhat veteran adult presence at the quarterback position to hopefully evaluate the offense. Now, flipping it back to the defensive side, one of my favorite signings. A lot of people like this move. I didn't even really know all too much about Nahshon Wright. He's a former third-round pick out of Oregon State, played with the Chicago Bears, had 5 picks last year. From what I've read today, a lot of people in Chicago really liked him. Kind of just a guy who is a ball hawk and made plays, and I believe he's also the player, if I read this correctly, maybe I am wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, who punched the ball out on the tush push that Jalen Hurts had.
You are right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that was the right piece that I read. But I think that a lot of people were expecting this guy to get a lot more money, and Jets got him at a pretty good deal. So I don't know. We don't have too much to say about him, but what's your thoughts on this signing? Another corner that could potentially, who knows, maybe he can compete for a starting spot. I don't.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I mean, at this point, AZ Thomas is not a lock in anywhere. I think Stevens is probably is a starter at this point. He has to be with the contract. But what's your feeling on Wright?
So what I've gathered from talking to one of my Bears fan friends, medical concern. Yeah, so he did fail his physical, Max Crosby.
Oh boy.
So I did get a little bit of a scouting report. He's like a Trayvon Diggs light-esque player, not the best coverage corner, but he's a guy that can hover around the ball. He forced a shit ton of turnovers. I think he had 7 last season, which is more than the Jets forced in the last 2 years combined, I believe. And look, man, I mean, he started games on a Bears team that was going deep into the playoffs. So this is now a guy that is going to come into a, already a solid room, maybe, a decent room. And, at the very least, be a high quality backup. If this guy was a lockdown corner, he would have gotten a huge contract with the way he was forcing turnovers last year. So I'm cool with this, man. For that price, I don't know how they pulled that off.
$6 million, right?
$6 million for
5.5.
And people were saying, why not sign him for more than that if you're going to get it? Because he probably wasn't willing to sign for more than 1 year. This is clearly okay, 7 turnovers last year, do it again, right?
Yeah.
And that's why the Bears probably let him go. And, maybe they're not confident he can do that again. But for a team with so little playmakers on the defensive side of the ball last year, you get him, you get the safety from the Giants who, according to a lot of Giants fans, he hovers around the ball and can play safety. Getting these guys for a combined $10 million, I think, in the secondary is good GMing. And, you got to give Muji and I guess Glenn to an extent some credit on making some of these lower level deals. But, if Azaria Thomas goes down again, this isn't a low impact deal. This all of a sudden is your starting outside corner. And by the way, 6'4".
Yeah, big frame.
That was very shocking. I did not expect him to be a full blown 6'4" corner. Kind of built like Sauce Gardner. but he can actually catch the ball. So much worse in coverage, but I think he has hands. So I would give this one like an A. That's an A signing if you can get a guy for $5 million, $6 million that can compete and started games in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, it really fits that archetype that Glenn goes for in these corners. Stevens, Gardner, he liked to coach him up, and yeah, this is exactly what we need. I like the ball hawk approach, the turnover approach that they're taking on the defense side of the ball. So really promising stuff there defensively from free agency. Would like to get a guard, as you mentioned earlier. Unfortunately, overnight, AVT sneakily goes to the Patriots, heads over to New England, which I guess good for him. I'm not mad at him for doing that. I just like you could have picked like 30 other teams, bro, and you went to the Patriots. So.
I know. Just don't go to the Giants and don't go to the Patriots. Now I would have been like, all right, dude, he was a solid Jet. Now it's like, fuck you. Now,
pretty much.
It's unfortunately fuck you. I like.
Yeah,
AVT and everyone. I sent out a tweet. I'm not wishing for him to get hurt. I'm not a maniac, but like, I hate when people get like, I wish you nothing. I hope AVT does not perform as a top lineman in the NFL for the New England Patriots. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean that's ridiculous to expect that to root for the guy.
AVT feels bad for us. We're sitting here podcasting, talking about him, and he's making millions of dollars.
On the flip side of it, the guy played 40 games for the Jets and was hurt every single year. So, as much as I am wishing him well to an extent, at the same time, like, you didn't really give us all that much. And I understand there were fluke injuries, but screw you, man. Like, have fun in New England.
I think it opens up the conversation. They've had a good offseason. I think we can both agree with that thus far. I think Moosey's done a good job doing trades. I mean, God, dude, he's traded like it's clearly his best quality, right? And you could call it Geno Smith thing or whatever. You guaranteed yourself a year of competent floor level, competent quarterbacking play for the price of a fucking 6-rounder into a 7th, 20 picks. Okay, so people that are mad that they traded, please get over it. It's 20 picks in the fucking 7th round.
Nah, I couldn't understand why people were getting mad at that. But sorry,
it's funny. Like, oh, maybe he didn't want to come here. He probably did. He hopped on it seems like he was very fine coming here. Came and was in New Jersey all day. So, I don't think. I think that was a fine move. Go and get him early, man. It's a full calendar year of you having to sell tickets and put a product on the field. Just don't fucking risk it. Go and get Geno Smith, trade for him. I'm cool with that. It opens up the conversation to the fact that they need a guard now. I don't think that's going to come through the trade market. I think they're going to have to sign like a Wyatt Teller or a Chris Paul from the Commanders who, might not be the best run blocker. He's a really good pass blocker. I was looking at his PFF grades at work today. I'm not going to lie. And, he's 27. I always knew him because his name was Chris Paul. I thought that was funny. And very good pass blocker. At the very least, get a guy who you can rely on something. And, you're not starting a backup caliber player. Chris Paul started games. Wyatt Teller can start games. And then it puts you in a position where okay, you want to take not the Penn State. There's an Oregon guard prospect that's going to go in the second. There's a few of those guys, like there's tier 2 guys where, okay, bring in Wyatt Teller, bring in that Oregon guard, and all of a sudden it's maybe you can develop him. Maybe you take that 44, develop him, and that's your starting guard for the future, and you're good again. So they need to bring in a vet there, though. And whether that be Wyatt Teller, Chris Paul, the Packers dude that got released, unfortunately signed with the Browns. Yeah.
Sucks.
So that's unfortunate, but they have the cap space. Go. I have a feeling it's going to be a Wyatt Teller type move. And we were talking about this in the group chat today. I'm cool with having a vet. Like, if Wyatt Teller's 31 years old, it's not the end of the world, man. You have a pair of 22-year-old tackles. Joe Tippmann, who's 24. Josh Myers is 28, and you want to let you have a 31-year-old guard on the offensive line. I'm not mad about that. So get a Band-Aid, or get somebody that can start some games and draft somebody maybe in the 4th round to be a backup this year, and maybe he develops. So I think that's just the one thing where they need that guard and they need that receiver. And I know they have all the picks, but if they don't take a receiver at 16, let's just say they take the Penn State dude and throw him at guard. The receiver room, it's like Garrett, then a day 2 pick. I don't like relying on a day 2 pick, to be a starter right away. And I just feel like that they're going to have like one position that makes us a little uncomfortable, which, it's fine, right? I mean, you have Garrett. If you're relying on a Jeremy Bernard or a Denzel Boston or whoever you can get at like 33 to be the number 2 to Garrett, it is what it is. I think I'm fine with it, but just don't have that fucking guard position be like a huge hole, because we've seen it. I heard somebody say this today. It's okay to have Josh Myers starting on the offensive line if Josh Myers is the worst lineman on, out of your starting 5. Mm-hmm. It's when you get multiple Josh Myers is when the line can look bad in spurts. So make sure you don't have multiple Josh Myers, please, because I don't know about you. Like, I don't mind Josh Myers. I think he's cool. Like, don't make me hate him. I don't want to hate him.
Yeah, we don't need multiple. You're right. And there's a lot of, you look at the list, there's a decent amount of guys who I wouldn't mind signing on the offensive line. Even some younger guys who have been shaky, but I would maybe look at and give them a nod. But you're right. I feel like it's a position that you can find solid starting guard play in the free agency market. God, that car is loud. But yeah, I do think that's. I'm still going to say this, still early, but if they pick a guard at 16, I'll lose my mind. That's all I'll say.
I will not lose my mind. I think if you go, we don't have to have a
receiver there. If there's a receiver there that we want and they take a guard, I will be very, very angry. Very angry.
There's a chance, man, that this guy is not. What's his name? The Penn State guy. I do not know his name.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's the problem.
What's it?
I hate pronouncing guys' names wrong. I will say.
I looked it up. Penn State offensive lineman.
Vega. Is it Vega Ioni?
Yes.
Or Ali Vega
Ioni. There's a chance he's not even there at 16. So, like, I don't know. I think if you take Reese and him, and then you have some fun at pick, 33 and 44, you take the receiver and like the safety or whatever. You go into next year, dude, and it's truly like, all right, take your fucking quarterback and then do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to take a lineman, which I feel like we've been saying forever.
How many times we got to do it, man? How many times we got to do it?
But listen, we took one. He one of them ate too much McDonald's and left and won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. And then another one, unfortunately, he was good. He could not stay healthy, and he had to go. This is what happens, man. When you don't draft well, you unfortunately have to recycle these players and keep picking them. Offensive line's super important. And when you draft Becton and AVT in back-to-back years,
frustrating. So frustrating.
It is. It sucks. But this is Muji's. This is Muji's second year. This is only his second year. He took he took Membu. He didn't take Olu last year. That was Joe Douglas. So
no, you're right. You can't pin it on the new regime to follow, just the trends of the. You're right. He picked one offensive lineman in the first round, and he can't take accountability for the whole organization and their past draft pick. So I get it. Let's get into some calls here. Gotta let Chris from Jersey start. He's been killing it. He's like three out of our last 4, but I literally know when I download these, I see his number. I'm like, this guy, I know his number. So Chris, let's hear what you got.
Thank you, Chris. We love it.
What's up, guys? Chris in Jersey, many-time caller, many-time listener. What was I going to say? Oh, the Arvell Reese thing. If they were to draft a guy like Arvell Reese, now that they have DeMario Davis, they have Jamian Sherwood making a lot of money. If they held on to Jamian Sherwood, does that mean Arvell Reese would be a purely edge rusher, edge setter? Does that mean he'd play inside with DeMario Davis and they'd put Sherwood on the bench? That kind of doesn't make sense. He makes a lot of money. Yeah, I guess that's my only question. That was the only thing I was kind of curious about if they go the Arvell Reese route. I'll hang up. I like the Geno Smith signing too. People are bitching on Twitter, but I kind of like it. Have a good night.
Guy's just a stand-up chill dude. Absolutely.
We
amazing.
love Chris from Jersey, dude. He's always
awesome.
driving too. He's probably
He's always on the road. But that's a good question though about. Oh, go ahead.
He's making moves. I love
he
it.
is. Arvel though, like, and I've heard this idea. Like, I guess we can't say for certain that Jamian won't be traded, right? I think that's definitely still on the table. I mean, I don't know who's going to take the contract. Maybe the Jets would have to eat a lot of it. I think if you asked me today what I'd prefer, I kind of want Arvel next to Demario Davis as of today. Yeah. How do you look at that? Do you feel like they would just throw him on the edge there?
I think it would be percentage. I think the best way to look at it would be like, I think he would be doing like 65% edge, 35%, off ball linebacker. And I think that's how he should be used. That's why you take a guy like that. You let him develop at edge with, actual talent around him now. That defensive line is looking pretty strong at this point. Bunch of role players, like we said, guys that can fill the individual needs that are required in a 3-4 defense. So you can have Arvel Reese just line him up at edge, pin his ear back, and figure it out. He does need to develop like a pass rushing bag. His win percentage off the edge wasn't very high in college, but the reason you take him there is because he has all the tools to eventually get that percentage up in the NFL. And in the meantime, man, he can be a kick-ass off-ball linebacker and be exactly what we pay Jamie Sherwood to be, plus a bazillion. Like, he is a freak. So, I mean, it's going to be freaking awesome. Because you're going to see him. I think they're going to take him based off of everything that I've just heard. I think he's going to end up being the pick, and he's going to fit like a glove, dude. You add him, that freakish athlete, as like your true joker in terms of, where is this guy going to play every down? And, my ultimate prediction is 65% edge, 35% off ball. And that Demario Davis signing, man, he's going to have him in the right spots, and he's going to make some plays, dude. It's going to be awesome.
Dude, Arvel Reese can line up in the fucking slot. Like,
he can't.
He can line up anywhere.
Play, yeah, dude.
He legitimately can. He could probably cover a tight end. Like,
he can play Jarvis Brownlee's position. I'm convinced.
I would not be surprised. That's a really good question, though, and you made a great point. If Jamie Sherwood can just get back to half of what he was, God, maybe even back to just what he was in the solid defense, where he doesn't have to command a defense, we would be in a really good position, especially with Reese there switching in and out. I mean, offenses would have a real tough time. God, he's going to be a headache, especially as he develops more and more. Let's flip it to the next call. Do you have another point there?
One more point on that,
Sure.
Joey. I think Jamie Sherwood, we said this last episode, he's going to reap so many benefits from Demario Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris made a good point where it would make no sense to completely bench him when he's making the same contract as Devin Lloyd. That sucks. That really stung.
I know.
Leo Chenal only got $8 million a year. He's a bad contract, dude, and it
horrible,
and it really stings. But you're right. I think he's going to be improved, and I think he's going to be playable this year. I do. So
I don't really necessarily. This might be a hot take. I don't want to trade Jamie Sherwood. I think he will get back to what he was personally. That Leo Chenal.
That is a hot take.
It is, and I think he'll get back to what he was, especially with Demario Davis back. But yeah, Leo Chenal, I really would have liked him this year, man. I really would have. But hey, what are you gonna do? Where do you go? Commanders, $8 million, something like that.
Commanders for 3 years, $24 million. I was like, that's a great deal.
All right, and I think a new caller here, so we'll let him take the floor. I think his first one cut out, so he had to call in again, and that's why the beginning.
I think I got cut off there, but I'm gonna just redo this again. So what's up, it's Johnny from Westchester, Fort, now down in the South. Real quick, what do you guys want to do with pick 16? I know it's free agency season. Everybody's talking about, what we should do at 2 and all the free agency signings. Personally, I still like to go get another veteran edge rusher just because I got a feeling we're going to take Arvel Reese or Bailey at 2. I know Dante Fowler's still out there, and somebody else really good is out there. This Haason Reddick guy is out there. I wonder how he's looking at Jets uniform.
Trey Hendrickson. He's talking about Trey Hendrickson.
I'm curious what you guys would do at 16. Everybody's talking about number 2, but I think 16 is really a big pick in itself. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on that. I personally would like to double up on defense, but I know some people want Lemon, some people want Sadiq, some people would even take Simpson, the quarterback. So, yeah, just curious what you guys' thoughts are. Love you guys.
We love you too, man.
Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. What do you could start here.
I'm gonna start off here. I think it's dependent on what happens. I think it's dependent on what happens at guard, dude. I think if they don't sign like a Wyatt Teller or Chris Paul or anybody, I think it's signaling to you that like they're probably in the market for one in the middle of the first round, which is it's unfortunate. It's scary. It's not what anybody wants to hear. And it's doing the same thing that they always do where like, you remember, it's like nightmares of Broderick Jones where, you know, they clearly needed the tackle. They get leapfrog because the Patriots trade back with the Steelers and ultimately it worked out because Broderick Jones sucked, but you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. So let's just say they do sign a veteran guard. I think my number one pick, Joey, is a receiver. I think one of the three receivers, you're probably going to agree with me. If Tyson, Tate, or Lemon are there at guard, I think you just have to go for it there. So that's my take as of right now. It could change, I think with the pro days and all that stuff, it could change, but I think it's just going to be more of like a preference of what receiver I'm leaning towards as opposed to like me completely changing my stance on what position.
It's funny in the middle of your camera switch. I'm not sure.
I completely screwed up my thought. For anybody watching on YouTube.
Oh, it's great. I'm sitting there wondering if you even saw it, but couldn't agree more with you. So I'm looking at you through this weird camera lens here. It is for me wide receiver. You're right though. If they don't sign one of these veteran guard guys, and they have to pick an offensive lineman, I will say it will piss me off in the moment. It's a plug and play guard that we can essentially replace AVT with and get the same level of play at what he was healthy. I would be pretty content because what we traded up to what in 2021? Was it pick 16 for AVT? Pick 14, which is oddly similar to what the Jets have now at 16. So if they got to do it, they got to do it. And they're going to address the needs elsewhere, but they better go and get like a Brian Thomas Jr. If that's the case, they're going to take offensive line at that 16 pick. Honestly, you would think like maybe was Caden McDonald in play there. Probably not anymore, just with the trade with Sweat and stuff like that. Number one is wide receiver for me though. Even if they get Brian Thomas Jr., I told this to Tony the other day, having like a Garrett, Lemon, Brian Thomas Jr., AD Mitchell, and a good offensive line. Yeah, for Geno Smith to throw around behind a good offensive line with Breece Hall, Mason Taylor, all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is an adult NFL offense that could throw the ball down the field and maybe not get shellacked by 25 points a game with a revamped defense.
You throw a rookie in 2027 in there, woo, dude. You give Sam Darnold that as a rookie, like Sam Darnold's developing into a hell of an NFL quarterback early.
Yeah. Very early, yeah. So there's a lot of ways you can go. Thanks for calling in, John. We appreciate that, and that's good. Good talking points there for sure. This is our third day in a row recording. We haven't even talked if we're going to be recording on our normal night tomorrow night. I don't really know what the hell else is left to talk about. But if they make another signing tomorrow or of significance, I guess we will hop on. We were going to do like a 20-minute episode. We're at 33 minutes right now, which is crazy.
It's insane. We always go
just talk about the Jets for fucking an hour every night. It's sick bastards. I know it is free agency and stuff, so there is stuff to talk about. But regardless, I mean, here we are. Anyways, any closing thoughts from you before we sign off for a third night in a row here?
I don't like looking at myself from this camera angle. It's creeping me out, and I hope
tripping me out too.
I hope tomorrow, maybe tonight. I don't know. They don't seem to make a lot of moves at night. I feel like they go to Darren Muji goes to sleep at like 9 p.m. and that's it. Like Connor Hughes was tweeting yesterday. He was like, "Yeah, they're done for the night," and it was like 9:30. I'm like, Connor, I wanted to refresh Twitter until 11 p.m. again, but hopefully they sign that guard either tonight or tomorrow, so we don't have to talk about this mysterious Penn State guy that we can't say his name as if he's like fucking Voldemort.
It's almost like it's like foreshadowing. Like this is the guy we're actually going to take.
He's a Jet.
Don't say it. Anyways, go follow us on Twitter, First Class Pod. one as the I, Spotify, Patreon, Apple, YouTube. We're everywhere. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll talk to you soon, and go Jets.